Hey, it's Josh, and this is episode 29 of the Josh Bloom podcast. Do you remember when you were 29 and feared 30 coming around the bend? Me neither. I was too miserable for memories. I originally was going to say I was too high, but I decided to go for alliteration and sympathy instead. I am Uncle Josh to a few people who are not actually blood relatives, but might as well be because I have known them their entire lives. One of these kids is not a kid anymore. He turned 18 this week, and I couldn't help but remember when he wasn't even able to sit up in a chair. Now he has a deeper voice than I do. Speaking of the passage of time, we are about to get into another edition of 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump Administration, covering April 25th through May 1st, which corresponds to days 95 through 102. As you will hear, we are 7% through. Interestingly, the leader of the Trump administration also isn't that great at sitting up in a chair. This week, we also touch on, talk about, and mention the dessert called cake, Rachel Maddow, Beetlejuice, the movie character, not the Howard Stern whackpacker, although we do mention Howard's producer Gary Delabate, aka Baba Booey, cats that vibrate, artificial intelligence, which some call AI, Pink Floyd, Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones, Dr. John Sarno, The Smiths, Transcendental Meditation, 99 Luft Balloons by Nena, NSYNC, and the Upright Citizens Brigade. What an assemblage. Did you use the word assemblage when you were 29? If you did, we were probably friends. As usual, if you want to watch a compilation of all of this week's original TikTok posts, they are compiled in one video on YouTube. A link is in the show notes. Thanks again for listening, and now let's get into 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump Administration. I will be back afterwards. Day 96 of 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump Administration. I am not a self-help guru, although you may think differently after what I am about to say. I'm just trying to help myself. Do you suffer from back pain? In addition to the many indignities that the Trump administration and the leader of the Trump administration are inflicting upon the world, I do not doubt that this includes residual physical pain due to stress. I encounter many people who suffer from back pain. I used to suffer from back pain many years ago until I heard about Dr. John Sarno, who wrote a book titled The Mind-Body Prescription. Now is the point in the video where I will stop giving details about this, kind of like how the leader of the Trump administration doesn't provide details about his policies. The difference in this case, however, is that the leader of the Trump administration avoids providing details that we need to hear. I am avoiding providing details because I have found through trial and error that suggesting that a person's trauma might be contributing to their physical pain is rarely met with a positive reaction. If I had this conversation today, I would start with, "Don't do this. You are forbidden from doing this." I am not giving advice. As stated, I am not a self-help guru, but I have tried and succeeded at helping myself in this case. This is not speculation. This is not me saying that I know better than you. This is me saying that I didn't know better than me. Everyone who suffers from back pain or chronic pain in general eventually gets to a point of frustration when no solution seems possible. When I got hip to Dr. Sarno and his research, I was keeping my mind open to ideas that might resonate with me. If they resonated with me, I could consider them. If they had a plan of action associated with them, I could give that plan of action a try, with the mindset that if this does not contribute positively to my life and make my life better, I would appreciate myself for at least taking a chance, rather than lamenting that whatever I attempted didn't work. The leader of the Trump administration couldn't care less about your back pain associated with your diminishing 401k, for example. But I do. I believe that if people around me feel optimistic, that will contribute to me feeling optimistic and vice versa. If you suffer with pain, let me know in the comments. Save this video. Refer back to it. Share it with a friend without telling them why. Repost it with the thought that someone who needs to see it will see it. I know it feels impossible to ignore your pain right now, but it is at least possible to ignore the Trump administration. Day 97 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. My stage name is Josh Bloom, and I'm just trying to help myself. Did you know that home theaters are a scam? Stay with me. This is related to ignoring the Trump administration. When you build a home theater, you are locked in for life. I remember a controversy on the Howard Stern show about Howard's producer Gary, better known as Baba Booey. Gary built a home theater and lined the back of the theater with bar stools. Gary got very upset when the obvious question was asked: who qualifies to sit in a comfortable recliner? Who has to sit on a bar stool instead? And why would Gary build a theater like that in the first place? When you invest in a home theater, the moment it's installed, it's out of date. Now, you can't have an out-of-date theater because the only reason you are doing this is to have a theater at home. And if you are the kind of rich where you can have a theater at home, then you are bringing people into that theater to impress them, not only with the experience, but to impress them with you. And so to impress them with you, you have to keep updating that theater forever. This is the scam of capitalism. We are here to work and work and work so we can consume and consume and consume. And a lot of the consuming we're doing is only to impress other people. This is a distraction from the fulfilling aspects of life that are free. What are we sacrificing by working so many hours to acquire the money needed to create distractions from all the work we're doing to acquire that money? Did you know that the Howard Stern show used to interview the leader of the Trump administration on a regular basis? In fact, on Howard's show, the leader of the Trump administration admitted to some of his most egregious behavior. The Trump administration and the leader of the Trump administration prefer that we work from birth to death with no government assistance and nothing to show for it except for the lining of the pockets of our bosses. Don't get me wrong. I am not anti-capitalist, but I am anti-being oppressed by capitalists. When the need to consume drowns out the will to self-actualize, the entire world is missing out on each person's unique personality. And I don't like that. If Baba Booey hadn't paid for and built his home theater with stools, we never would have had the opportunity to laugh at it. I also laughed at Howard's interviews with the leader of the Trump administration, but now that the leader of the Trump administration is threatening the future of the nation, I have a different perspective on that information, and I am continuing to ignore the Trump administration. Day 98 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. We've discussed this. I'm just trying to help myself. I can be a huge snob sometimes. Unlike the leader of the Trump administration, I am not a snob about the 2020 election I lost, or a recently departed pope I disrespected, or family farms that I bankrupted. I am a snob about more conceited topics, like meditation, for example. I have practiced transcendental meditation for 11 years. So when anyone says they meditate, I am like, oh, what kind of meditation? I practice transcendental meditation, and my tone says, that's a better meditation. Or improv, for example. I took improv classes at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater for years and participated in dozens of performances. I was never particularly good because I was too much of a scaredy cat at the time, but I had my moments. Regardless, if you said anything about improv, I took it as an opportunity to tell you how much I knew about improv. Believe me, I realize now that this doesn't endear me to people. That's why I am admitting this flaw in my character, unlike you-know-who. Today, someone mentioned they've been to therapy a few times. 5 times, they said. This was a person I was listening to on a show, so I couldn't respond to them, nor would I, because therapy is too much of a sensitive topic compared to meditation or improv, so I am just telling you. Because of my work in therapy, I have learned to stop myself and be like, Josh, That is not a way to behave. Commenting will not be productive in furthering this relationship. I mean, hey, this conversation with myself about how my success in therapy regulated my behavior serves as a snobby response anyway. But if I were going to say something to someone who says they've been to therapy 5 times, I would say 5 times? Like, that's not going to therapy. Going to therapy is going for almost 8 years. Like, I have been every single week without ever missing an appointment. And I always would add that part about never missing an appointment. I sure do get a kick out of that internal snob voice sometimes. So, what I'm trying to say here is that if you start therapy in regard to what the Trump administration and the leader of the Trump administration have done to traumatize you, I am letting you know now that when you begin that work, you should dedicate yourself to it because it will take quite a bit of time to unravel what the Trump administration and the leader of the Trump administration have done. You don't want a recovering snob like me internally commenting on your progress. Pay attention to your mental health and ignore the Trump administration. Day 99 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not artificial intelligence. I'm just trying to help myself. I do not believe in AI as a method of generating art. I believe in it as an artist's assistant, not an artist's replacement. It's just another tool in the toolbox. There are many reasons I believe this. For instance, Day 99 of Ignoring the Trump Administration reminds me of the incredible song 99 Luftballons by Nena. Would ChatGPT be able to generate the song 99 Luftballons by Nena, or anything approximating the pleasure, genius, and lasting impact of 99 Luftballons by Nena? I don't think so. But let me show instead of tell. I asked ChatGPT to generate a satirical rant about ignoring the Trump administration. Here's a portion of how it responded. Apparently, there was this whole era called the Trump years? Yeah, no. Couldn't tell you a single thing that happened. Not one. I spent 2016 to 2020 in what I like to call strategic ignorance. Full blackout. Emotional Wi-Fi? Disconnected. You think I was going to let a bunch of screaming headlines and sweaty Twitter fights ruin my blood pressure? Nah. I had a system. Anytime someone said, "Did you hear what Trump just..." I would just pass out like a fainting goat. Gone immediately. There were people out there reading every White House press briefing like it was a season finale. Meanwhile, I'm over here in my kitchen like, I wonder if you can air fry cake. And honestly, no regrets. Not a single one. I missed a lot of screaming matches and gained inner peace. And like maybe 10 pounds from all that cake. But still, worth it. Ignorance wasn't just bliss, it was a full-time lifestyle choice. 2016 to 2020? Sorry, I was busy doing a deep dive on why cats vibrate when they purr. 10 out of 10. Would ignore again. Guys, hey, it's Josh, I'm back. As you can see, there is a hyper-realistic quality to these words that is too hyper-real. We are not hyper-real, we are only real. We are flawed, and those flaws make us unique, attractive, and relatable. ChatGPT is only learning how to ignore the Trump administration by accessing every word on the internet about the Trump administration and by the Trump administration and the leader of the Trump administration. Take this exercise as a stark reminder of a world where 99 Luftballons may have never been written. It doesn't take artificial intelligence to actually ignore the Trump administration. Day 100 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. I'm just trying to help myself. Some say that 100 is a milestone. Some say that a presidency's first 100 days is a thing. I am happy to have reached 100 daily editions of this missive to you. But there is a long way to go, and frankly, I am not a big believer in milestones. I am not a big believer in birthdays. I am not a big believer in Happy New Year. How about you? Tell me in the comments if you care about acknowledging these days. Every day that we get up and do something is worth acknowledging. Every day of life is a milestone because you concluded the day before. You got through it again, and here you are once more. So it is interesting to reach 100, but interesting is about all it is to me. I am much more interested in the bigger picture of my existence on this planet, and by proxy, your existence on this planet. And what the hell do I mean by proxy? I am attempting to represent a larger consciousness and understanding. I am making a video that you will watch shortly thereafter, and hopefully it will connect with something you think or feel. This is what I mean by proxy. Bye, proxy. Ain't no lie, baby. Bye, proxy. A twist on an excellent song by the group In Sync. If mentioning In Sync right now doesn't indicate to you how little interest I have in milestones, well, I don't know any other way to express that. Absurdity is what we are here to celebrate each and every day. It is ridiculous that we are alive. It is ridiculous that we perceive that we are alive. And it is ridiculous that we have to live under the power of a person who has, for the last 100 of 1,461 days, shown so much disregard for our lives. I sometimes think about the leader of the Trump administration's brother who drank himself to death. It explains how growing up in a dysfunctional home is conducive to a lack of personal accountability, an inability to relate to other people, and equating material success with success as a person. The fundamental indicators of achievement are in how other people relate to you, how much you enrich their lives, and most importantly, how much you let them enrich your life. Overcoming adversity and managing to use the negative experiences of your past to positively influence the experiences of your future is the everyday milestone I'm talking about. Pay attention to yourself and ignore the Trump administration. Day 101 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. I'm just trying to help myself. He thinks they are real tattoos. He thinks they are real tattoos. He thinks they are real tattoos. I said it 3 times as if I was summoning Beetlejuice, but I was summoning satisfaction in this case. The leader of the Trump administration actually believes the image that members of the Trump administration handed him depicts actual tattoos on the knuckles of the immigrant he sent to El Salvador, instead of what the image actually contains, actual tattoos with letters and numerals inserted into the image in an attempt to provide the leader of the Trump administration with a visual aid to prove unproven accusations about what those tattoos mean. More care should be taken when handing visual aids to the leader of the Trump administration. Why would I take comfort in this situation? Well, sometimes the leader of the Trump administration makes me question my own sanity. That is how the leader of the Trump administration gets over on people. So when I hear him emphatically defend a faked fact that is false, like when he used a Sharpie marker on a map to claim a hurricane would hit a city it wouldn't, just because he couldn't admit he was wrong, I'm like, Josh, the next time you question yourself, please keep this in mind. As Morrissey sings in the song Well, I Wonder by the Smiths, please keep me in mind. And in this case, the me would be this piece of information. I realize I am attributing human qualities to a piece of delusion, which is the product of the leader of the Trump administration living in a delusion that is different from the delusion that I am living in, but it means getting to reference a Smiths song, so be it. Once again, the blatant misinterpretation of this piece of visual information by the leader of the Trump administration gives me confidence that my brain isn't broken. Whoever created that image put those letters and numerals there to say, oh, these letters and numerals will help indicate to the leader of the Trump administration what these tattoos mean, which is not something that's been proven because there's been no hearing and no evidence presented. But the point here, once again, as if I'm summoning Beetlejuice, is that the leader of the Trump administration thinks those letters and numerals are also tattoos, and he is arguing his ass off about it. I take comfort in knowing that he thinks those letters and numerals are real because it lets me know that my cerebral cortex's critical and cognitive functions have not been compromised as I continue to ignore the Trump administration. Lori says, stop calling it an administration. It is a regime. Well, Lori, I don't disagree with you. The reason I continue to call it an administration is because I don't want to normalize the anger that I would have to harbor to call it a regime. And so I attempt to keep my rhetoric within the confines of the institutions that we all grew up with believing existed for our own benefit rather than existing as a regime that is not for our benefit. I can understand how it appears that we are being led by a regime to be continued. Day 102 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. I am a survivor of trauma, which is another way of saying I'm just trying to help myself. I'm about to give you some information on day 102 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration, which is a cause for celebration, even if you can only afford a staycation and not a vacation. On day 102 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration, we are now 7% lucky, 7% through 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration, which is a perfect time to restate the core principles behind this effort. Number 1, turn down the news. No matter how unbiased, authentic, and well-meaning every broadcaster may seem, and they very well may be just that, they are still collecting fat paychecks written to them by wealthy bosses. Unlike the classic rock band Pink Floyd, who sang "Money, Get Away," they don't want to risk those paychecks because why would someone risk a paycheck over something like the Trump administration and someone like the leader of the Trump administration? They would not. Does Rachel Maddow want money to get away? No. She seems nice, but she does not want money to get away. So they will be inclined, no matter how much they feel they are coming from a place of sincerity, to give us perspectives that make us emotional rather than improving our lives. How often do you turn on the news and hear something that improves your life? I'm not doing it anymore, but I will guess that the answer is 0 times. This brings me to point number 2. With that reclaimed time and your regained mind, we will be more inclined to feel fine when we are not taking in all of this unending nonsense coming out of the Trump administration and the leader of the Trump administration that means to do precisely what it has proved to do over these last 102 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration, which is to destabilize our society, destabilize our sense of well-being, and destabilize our optimism about our future. When we no longer consume information at the rate that we once were, we can use the time we have to do the opposite of what the Trump administration and the leader of the Trump administration are trying to do to us. We can enrich our lives, stabilize our own lives, and envision a future with optimism. Our only control in life is how we choose to think about it, how we resolve to react to it, and how we decide to behave during it. Let's stand in solidarity on day 102 for ourselves, these principles, and for ignoring the Trump administration. Wow. I doubt Rachel Maddow even listens to Pink Floyd. They don't seem like the typical lesbian playlist fodder, and as a gay, I can say that. Thanks for listening. Please leave a 5-star rating for the Josh Bloom podcast in your podcast app and leave a comment saying you like the show. Don't forget to follow, and most importantly, tell a friend. I know telling a friend is weird. I don't care. Do it anyway. Say that I threatened you. But really, I have been told by people I respect that I am difficult when you first get to know me, and when you do, I am a really nice guy, so please give your friends a chance to hate me and then love me. Lastly, visit me everywhere for everything by going to superjews.com, that's superjews.com, for links to all my social media, and visit superjews.substack.com to subscribe to my Substack, which contains all of my long-form writing. Subscriptions are free, or for a small monthly donation, you can support my work. It helps a lot. Thanks again for listening. See you next week.